Hello, I'm having a very marvellous day. I went to a Magic competition. Magic's my favourite game, and I did very well at it. And then we've just watched Ep.3 of The Three Doctors. And I tell you something, there's so much to talk about in this story, so I've deleted everything off my phone that may possibly stop this video from working like it did last time. Let's get this stuff out of the way first. Everybody in this is just amazing. It feels both like a party and like a fantastic, tense Doctor Who story at the same time, which is a brilliant combination. It's easily Benton's best story. The Professor dude and the Art Garfunkel guy, they're performing their part admirably well. Courtney, of which more in a moment, is just fabulous, but he's always fabulous. And the two Doctors are just so good together. They are so good together. Troughton is always brilliant, but Troughton brings out the best in Pertwee as well. And the humour, I mean, it throws Pertwee as an actor into a whole new light, because suddenly he's having to do that sort of grumpy Pertwee thing. But then it immediately goes back into the funny, and he suddenly has got that most doctorish of traits where he can swing from one thing to another with aplomb. And I think that's probably what's missing from Pertwee. It's a two-dimensional nature. That's what winds me up. But in this, completely gone. Possibly Pertwee's best performance as the Doctor so far. So all that, great. Now, when we first started doing this, I was talking an awful lot about the progression of the Doctor as a character and the programme. So in this is massive. Okay, yes, it's the two Doctors. He's meeting himself, if not for the first time, but for the first time proper. But what we get here is this mythology suddenly. I mean, we've already got the Time Lords creeping in. Story after story, it's becoming more evident. And, we talk about them in the programme all the time now. But as in now in the contemporaneous, in the third Doctor era. But now we've got this history to the Time Lords. It suddenly starts to flesh it out in a way it's never fleshed out before. They've actually got some solidity to it, not these mythical creatures. One dude had to go and explode something. They're not born with these time-travelling powers. So all of a sudden, the Doctor is, and he's coping with it well, to be fair, but he's facing a situation he's never really faced before. He's actually mining, he's almost not travelling backwards within his own race history, but he's become a figure of such influence within the universe, such importance in the universe. He's actually starting to have these adventures that involve his own race, the race he ran away from, the race that's just nailed him to the post in Earth. So, as a character, the Doctor's going through an awful lot in this story, and obviously, kind of that relationship between the second and third Doctor really helps me here. As a programme, I think something massive's happening here. And I think it's best typified by Courtney, who's brilliant. Now, Courtney's role throughout the third Doctor era has been this weird, and Sandifer talks about this, I'm nicking this, but he talks about how Courtney is both able to sort of send the programme up but take it really seriously at the same time. And it's this pitch-perfect performance whereby he kind of he typifies what the programme's trying to do by rooting it in the real world, okay? So you got cars and telephones and stuff. I think this story marks a sea change in so much as suddenly the programme's stopping being... The context of the programme isn't the real world. The context of the programme is the programme itself. You've got 10 years of history to start to tinker with. And I think the programme's starting to lean on the fact that it's just this programme and it can appreciate itself as a programme. I think that's a massive sea change for Doctor Who. And I think that all of a sudden... spoilers, I think we're suddenly find the show just moving off again with a sort of renewed confidence in the fact that, we've got to 10. How good is 10? Not many shows get to 10 years, and yet we've done it, and we can actually start to revel in ourselves a little bit. Now, obviously, this sort of behaviour has a downside, and perhaps we'll get to see that in the 1980s, but it just feels like we're just going hell for leather, and everything's pumping in. It's such a brilliant story. And it's not just such a brilliant story because Troughton's in it, which would make it a brilliant story its own. It's a brilliant story because it feels fresh and banging and new and brave and wonderful. Love the Three Doctors.